Hi, Chris Drury here. Wanted to take a couple of minutes here to highlight some things I really love that Matt has done in his classroom that maybe he didn't call out so much as highlights, but they're gems that even if I had to go back to the classroom, I would try doing this with my students because I didn't. And the first thing that I love that Matt did is his adjustments to peer revision to make it better. He gave them a structure, the praise, question, polish structure, so that each student has three things they're providing for the other student that they're reading their work. And I think that's really powerful. And for those of you that aspire to be instructional coaches or who have worked with coaching, may have read some books that say things like, that's how you give feedback to people. You praise them, and then you have a question or something that you want them to think about, and then you give them an area to grow on. And I think giving those kids that structure to give feedback to others, because often our kids are afraid of hurting each other's feelings, and they're afraid of making other students have to do so much work or things like that. But if you give them a structure like this, I think they're going to be much more apt to talk about that. Another thing I wanted to point out is the rubric that Matt is working with, which I think is pretty powerful. By giving, like, he's grading their feedback to each other, so they're more invested in getting better at giving feedback to one another. And so he even shows them what, like, hey, you're kind of at the beginning of feedback and you want to work your way up to accomplished. And I think that's pretty powerful. You don't always have to assign that a grade, but you could, and he's giving you those kinds of things here. So I am adding in a Canvas discussion for you guys to reflect on peer revision, because honestly, for me as a teacher, I taught 7th grade, and my job was to teach them to write an essay, and they had not written, all too often, they had not written, or they hadn't written many since 4th grade, which was the last time the essay was tested. So when I tried to do peer revision, like, the peer revision was usually, I felt like, a wasted day. The advice they gave each other was not useful for the writer. And then they just basically took their rough draft and recopied it and fixed a few grammar errors and turned it back into me. So the students were not going through a true revision process. I think with these two tools, you can really ramp up that revision, and you can start showing them how to do revision better. And it's going to save you time in the long run, because when I got to the point where I'm like, I'm just not going to do peer revision, then who's giving the students the revising tips? That's me. And that's a lot of work. And that's why sometimes I think we're reluctant to assign very much writing. So I just wanted you to think about that and spend some time reflecting on, hey, what could I do in my classroom to really ramp up peer revision and make it more useful for the students and just better all around to get better writing. Thanks.